Hey guys, another week, and so here's your lesson for this week. We're going to be out of the week 21 of the Weekly Reader. So those of you who have your paper copy, you can have that handy. If not, you can go ahead and go to the Studies Weekly website and click on week 21. And what you're going to read this week, you're going to read, it's got a long title, and I cannot memorize it. But when you get to it, it's this one right here. Very long title, you can tell. It says Industry, Communication, and Transportation Take the Nation into a New Century. So that's what you're going to read right there, that article. And then you're going to answer the questions on the checkpoint that's in your Google Classroom. Or for those of you who have the paper copies, you're going to answer the paper copies of that. Okay? When you're reading that article, it's going to have three main points to this article, and it's basically how the United States economy was being able to go forward after the Civil War. Okay, so once everybody kind of got back to work, everything got back into the swing of things, kind of like we're hoping for this coronavirus thing to kind of everybody go back to work, everybody get back into the swing of things. A lot of things started improving. You're going to read about industry, where people were starting to build more and more factories. A lot of people are starting to move into the cities to work in these factories. Okay, a lot of the former slaves who were now free, who wanted to move up to the north, were hoping to get jobs in these factories as these factories kept making more and more things. And now all of a sudden, people aren't having to make them by hand anymore because machines are now making all these different products, being able to make them cheaper, being able to make them faster, and all kinds of stuff. Sometimes, in a lot of cases, being able to make them more high quality and stuff. So you're going to read about that. You're also going to read about communication and how now the United States is not having to send communication by letter. Okay, so people aren't having to hand a letter to someone and that person hand delivers it to someone else. Okay, you're going to learn about about Morse code and the telegraph, and how that started improving specifically during the Civil War and then started to expand. And as that expanded, other people got ideas for like the telephone and all kinds of other stuff on ways to communicate a whole lot faster and a whole lot easier. So now instead of a letter taking, say, a week, maybe even a month to get from one place to the next for someone to read it, now with the telegraph or even with the telephone, instantaneous. Okay, just like today when you call someone up or you send them a text, they get it right then. And that's kind of what it was like. They didn't have to wait for someone to take it there and then bring the reply back. Okay, and then of course the last one is transportation and how transportation changed over that course of time. Okay, now remember when we talked about earlier in the year how the fastest way to travel way back then, especially during the colonial times, was by boat. So a lot of people traveled by water because that was the fastest way and the best way to get from one place to another. Okay, but now all of a sudden there's a new invention out there called the train. Okay, and railroads, and so that's starting to expand. More and more railroads are starting to be built. And then they have the task of doing what they call the Transcontinental Railroad, building a railroad from one side of the United States all the way to the other. So instead of it taking 2 or 3 months to get from the Atlantic Ocean, a part of the United States on the East Coast, all the way to the Pacific Ocean on the West Coast, now all of a sudden, they can, instead of 2 or 3 months, now it only takes about 7 days. Okay? And so these trains are going very fast, being able to carry lots and lots of stuff, and people are using them all the time. But of course, building the Transcontinental Railroad was a great, huge task, and you're going to read about that. Some of the difficulties, some of the arguments that they had over that. And so those are the main things you're going to read about. Okay, industry, people building factories. You're going to read about communication, the telephone, the telegraph, and stuff. And then, of course, you're going to read about the Transcontinental Railroad and transportation and how all three of those things improved after the Civil War all the way until they got into the 1900s. All right? So once again, week 21, you're going to read week 21 the article Industry, Communication, and Transportation take the nation into the new century or the next century. And then you're going to go down and do the checkpoint for week 21. For those of you using Google Classroom, that's going to be right at the end of the assignment. So make sure you click on that, answer the questions, and then click submit. For those of you using the paper copies, awesome. Just circle your answers and get that turned in. All right. That's all we got for this week, guys. I'll be in Google Hangouts on Monday and Wednesday. And if you are working on your stuff on Tuesday or Thursday and you need help, just shoot me an email. I'll meet you in a Google Hangout and I can help you out with that. All right. So hopefully see you guys this week in some Google Hangouts. Or if not, I'll hopefully see you sometime soon. All right. Y'all take care.